coming to us from Atlanta. James Dean will lead over Austin. It does Mada, because it's Austin Mada. Here we go, that AutoZone Mustang RTR Spec 5FD. I'm sure the boss man is watching at home, talking about Von Kitten Jr. Boom, clutch kicks into the ball. That's what I was talking about. Look at that thing, absolutely on rails, like a magnet to that green wall. Into the power alley, inside clip 1, transitioning inside clip 2, bang, right on it. You can see that front tire going into the box. Austin Mada swings wide, and look at James Dean, gets right into the crease, lick the stamp and send it. Boom, sign, seal, deliver, COD, cash on delivery, cash on James Dean. That's what we're talking about here. Well done by James Dean out front, and that right there, boom, the bar is set right out of the gate like the Olympics, man.
Yeah, we're already treated to just an absolutely epic lead run. And Austin Mada here, I mean, does a really good job of trying to gain that proximity and then get that parallel angle. James Dean is so fast. Inside clip looks fantastic. And right there, that's the only spot that Mada made that mistake, but it does push him off track. It looks like it's 3 wheels over. That is what is a 0 here this weekend, is 3 wheels off track. We'll get into it a little bit more, but realistically, if it wasn't for that, Mada had this really well, just got lost in the smoke at this point, and you can see him start to wash out. And there we see those wheels come off track. I mean, probably all 4, but good job on Mada getting back in. Almost used the bank as a bit of a ramp to kind of get back into the battle, but unfortunately
Safety
for him,
net.
yeah, I mean, it's a good safety net.
It is, you know, you talked about it yesterday. There's tracks you can risk with no power steering.
Yeah.
This is not
one of them.
Not one of them. But Austin Mada will now, he's going to try to force an error of James Dean. Austin, like I said, this is a big ask going against the 4-time champion of James Dean. And look at James, I'm sure his spotter said, hey, Austin made a major mistake in that chase position. Austin needs to put down a heater of a run. James Dean navigates a right-hand drive. We talked about the benefit of that. Jacob, I'll let you elaborate on that. We talked about it with Laurent Nickel even right there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for Austin, a great lead run by Austin Mada. Look, he gives himself a fist bump, and rightfully so. Austin, an absolute weapon, great attitude, love him, his team's energy, but he knows who he's going against. Arguably, or unarguably, the best drifter in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Mada, though, really solid lead run here. It's super unfortunate that he made that one mistake in the chase, because this just shows how good Austin Mada has gotten and how good he really is. I mean, he's a veteran of the sport. He's been around for a long time and finally making that jump up to pro, and you can see just why he got that accreditation and deserves that jump into pro, because that was a solid run from Austin Mada. James Dean gave him a little bit of room, gave him a little bit of breath there right off the beginning in that first outside zone, and then ends up, you know, reeling it in. But great competitors there. Austin Mada getting back in the car. You know, look at going up against James Dean. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know it's gonna be just a good once-off. How am I doing? You know, kind of wants to get a little health check, right? A wellness check. But right now, here again, fairly equally matched. You can see the angle there, as twitchy as it is. RCP puts it in the right spot, almost goes camo into that green wall, into that power alley. Here comes Trenton Beichum. Good placement of that car. I like that. He backed it off. Maybe wasn't too aggressive, giving himself some room, because that chase position is a very hard position to be in. I think that since it's daylight, the smoke screen is not as dense.
Yeah.
When the lights go on, it really magnifies it.
So yeah, really good start here from both drivers. I mean, Rome could have been a little bit deeper in outside zone 1, and then Trenton Beichum here trying to figure out, does he want to go for line, proximity, or angle? And as they come through these inside clips, Beichum makes that decision when we get into the second outside zone. So look at, he's mirroring the line, he's mirroring the angle, doesn't have the proximity, but you have to remember the chase is those 3 elements. So if you're going to do it, pick 2. If you know you're going to be behind, pick 2. So in this case, Beichum goes for angle and for line, because he matched both those, just didn't have the proximity. So when we swap them around, Rome's going to have a decision to make as well. How is he going to chase? Which thing, you want all 3, but in the case of worst case, which 2 do you pick?
Good, fast, cheap. You can only have 2.
Yeah.
All right, so line, angle, and style. Here we go. So Trenton Beichum out front, and out of the gate looks like RCP. Good angle from Trenton Beichum out front. I gotta say, a little more locked and loaded from Beichum out front, but look at that. You talk about the proximity. RCP, he might be blowing off that front bumper, but he has definitely some aggressiveness. Look at Beichum, comes out of it, comes unwound, but then goes back into it. So quick little correction by Trenton Beichum out front, but this is a good battle. Again, similar cars. You have the E46, you have the new 1 Series. Overall, pretty good.
Yeah, Beichum a little late to initiate there. Might see in another replay if it was past the 3-2-1 lines, which you'll see on the ground. But Beichum just a lot of wavering in this run. Does not look like he's feeling comfortable. And then we see Rome in the chase punching that cone pretty hard, and Beichum just right here, a lot of wavering back and forth. Never able to get the car settled. Never really able to make it comfortable for him. So I don't know if he's fighting.
It looked like a 2-move.
Yeah.
You talked about initiation. It looked like he made an action and kind of hesitated, and then at the second mark, really committed to it. I beg to differ. I think that Trenton, once he got settled on that first outside zone, I thought he was good. Watch RCP. I talked about that twitchiness, and he talked about it again to me, and it, not in confidence, but elaborated on. Said trying to find the sweet spot with that car. Seemed like he was twitchy in that chase position, but again, on both sides, we have some moments of greatness. But here we go. RCP, Trenton, Beichum, boom. RCP gets the advancement here, and again, want to see if we could. This is going to be interesting. I think it's kind of two schools of thought, from the builds. American, JDM, I think Field is definitely more aggressive. Dan a little more calculated. What are your thoughts? What do you expect?
I mean, Dan's really starting to come into his own. This is some of the best driving I've seen from him in practice this weekend.
There we go. Matt Field, a lot of eyeballs on him. He definitely has the making of to be a champion. And there we go. Radan says, here you go. I'll show you what I can do. Like you said, he rose to the occasion. Here goes Matt Field in that power alley. Good placement. Minimal corrections. Those white wheels sticking out like a sore thumb. And Dan absolutely bulldozes into the side of the Corvette, sheds that like a chameleon, sheds that side skirt, sheds the skin, and that was definitely a hard bash there.
Yeah, we saw some
Dan.
hopping.
I mean, it didn't seem that Field was slowing down. We'll take a look and run it back, but at first glance, it didn't seem that momentum lights or even the attitude of the car slowed down to justify punching him in the side.
Yeah, there is a spot on the track where you can decel, and I mean, we're into that zone. I don't think that's it. So the spot that the judges have allocated for them to decel is kind of halfway
momentum.
between momentum change. Let's go with that. Between those two inside clips. So they are expecting them during that transition to make a small momentum adjustment, but it does look like Matt Field's got a DB on that back left wheel.
Very well could have been caused, obviously, but I mean, we'll run it back again. It's,
you never know.
It's kind of, I do the reactionary, the run call, and then we digest it. You elaborate a little bit further on something maybe I didn't see, and again, at first glance, it's, it seemed that. So let's watch this. But like you said, Dan is driving really well. Field, a lot of eyeballs on him.
Yeah, and we want to jump to the conclusion that, like, oh, Dan made contact, and that's why Matt Field, had a D-beat. There is also a world where Matt Field D-beats, and that's why Dan made contact. So can't jump to those conclusions quite yet, but everything so far looks really good. And then Dan just really hard charging through here. So depending on the camera angle we can get, we could see if there was a decel, but it's tough to say. What I liked is both drivers tried to stay into it. It's tough, though. I mean, in the lead, you feel that. You've got to make a lot of corrections to try and keep going after a contact like that, but in most cases, drivers will try and push through and drive through a situation. It just really depends on how much damage and how hard the hit ends up being. So let's see.
Smoke was consistently coming out of the left side.
Yeah.
And I think a good indicator of that was if it was disrupted. That's no indication, nor is it a criteria, but watch that back left corner. This is obviously, so coming through the power alley, here's inside clip 2. There is the Borla exhaust heat wave lean customs Corvette of Matt Field. Again, consistent. Tire still on.
Great camera
right
shot.
Outside zone 2. This is truth serum, baby.
Green light is still on at the front of Matt Field. So it's indicating he's still accelerating, hasn't decelerated. He was accelerating past the incident as well. He tried to pull kind of through that incident, but yeah, let me see Matt Field to hand out kind of a, hey, it's okay, it's all good, but.
Yeah, and talking to Reese, he's just to my right here. All the judges are just, we got Jacob, myself, Reese, Brian, and Robbie. They're all in agreement that Radan is at fault. So Dan Briquette at fault, a.k.a. Radan, is at fault. So unfortunately, he will be at a deficit. Matt Field will have a 10-minute allotment. They can put on new rear tires because Matt will. Obviously put on the left. He'll have a 10-minute allotment, not having to use his competition timeout. So thumbs up there, and we will get him off track. Well done there, OSW course workers. Way to get it done. And the fridge, keeping it cool down there. And Kevin's Corner, we'll get some content from him throughout the weekend.
Do love Kevin's Corner. I mean, it's like Send It and Kevin's Corner, those two for me, battling out for my favorite shows.
Which one, Kevin's, and which one?
And Send It. On your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't hear it. I got my producer. So Radan at fault means that Dan was at fault. It's an incomplete on his side. Matt Field, because his line got disrupted, he will have an advantage here. What that degree is TBD, especially after the second run, digest both runs, and then kind of put it in the machine, aka the judges' minds, and they will export a decision. So you can see on the flatbed there's Radan he's already back in the pits. And again, he will have to use that comp timeout. Just too aggressive?
Yeah, just too aggressive. I mean, there was no point where he really needed to charge back up. He wasn't that far off of him, but he just wanted to make a statement. When you're driving against a Matt Field and you're driving against, these really top-ranked guys, you have to push hard because they're going to do that to you when they chase. So you need to go into this battle with that mindset of I need to be on his door the entire time, or I'm going to lose this because when he chases me, that's what he's going to do. So
you
it's
don't
kind of
hand
like a
it
preemptive.
over.
No, you can't. And you don't want to leave it in the judge's hands either. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be really definitive, and I really feel like Radan just went a little bit too hard.
All right, lots more action. We come back, we'll set it and forget it and reset it, and we'll be right back here. Orlando Speedway World, O'Reilly Auto Parts Top 32. One of the most popular drivers in the Formula Drift field, and that Drift HQ BMW TLO, he put down some heater buy runs last night, but when push comes to shove, can he put down a competition run? Oh, Adam LZ exceeds that line on that outside zone. Oh, he is dabbling all over the track right now. The car seems pretty loose, but then dials it in with that BC Racing suspension now. Barely see it through the smoke. He had that great second outside zone, but want to run it back. Jacob looked like on the outside zone, kept it out a little too long and then brought it down.
Yeah, just didn't time it perfectly. Now, Tommy La Mer a little bit lower on the bank. Adam does a really good job up top and just holds on that much too long. Has
like
to
Seattle
scrub out.
Scenario.
Yeah, and then here again, it's like a lot of our tracks. You make a small mistake in one spot, it will affect the rest of the run. Thankfully, though, Adam able to clean things up by the second inside clip. Second outside zone looks good, but going long on outside zone 1, as you're going to see right here, that then messed things up for the rest of the clip. So big thing is to look for wheels off. Nope, I think there was only 2 inside clip and then just 2 there. But he did go wide on the second inside clip, picked up a bit of speed, and then Tommy La Mer in the chase does a really good job. So yeah, it's weird to see because Adam does drive here more often than anybody else does. So I don't think we've changed enough or anything different that maybe, like, oh, we moved this out 2 feet or moved it in 2 feet.
It's not that foreign.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and again, track set up here with just the changing conditions. It is dry. We, again, knock on wood as far as rain. But again, Tommy La Mer, he's had some. Oh boy, initiates, falls down, works his way back up, and that is hard to follow. So to Adam LZ's credit, you saw him work it down up the net vodka on the roof. Excuse me. Now coming into that second inside clip, into that second outside zone, Tommy La Mer, he does exceed it just actually about a tire distance.
Yeah.
So here's where I'm going to default to the resounding message of round 1. Have a good lead run. If you have a good lead run, the chase car has that opportunity to either flounder or flourish. And in this case, Tommy just on outside zone 1 and outside zone 2 needs to just get a little more refined.
Yeah, too much angle is really what it was. So he essentially missed the first part of the first outside zone. And then, Adam's doing what he can to try and get into the chase and do a good job through that section. Inside clips weren't too bad. And then Tommy again to the second outside zone starts to push a bit wide. One tire basically out of that zone for the majority of it. And Adam does a good job in the chase there. So both drivers make mistakes. Adam making the mistake coming out of that zone, first outside zone. Tommy making the mistake going into the first outside zone. So looks like we're going to be pulling up a side-by-side here so you can really understand kind of where those mistakes lie, where the issues end up coming, and then how that's going to end up affecting everybody when it comes to the final results. So let's take a look. BC Racing custom coilover side-by-side. So Tommy just too much angle. Adam does a really good job through the majority of this first outside zone. But yeah, Tommy doesn't get into it until halfway through. Then Adam blows wide on that section. Inside clips fairly similar. Second outside zone though, it does look like Tommy's deeper, but actually exceeds it. But Adam's pretty close to the edge. Both drivers having mistakes. I think Adam had more smaller mistakes, and Tommy had 2 bigger mistakes that went for the majority of his zone. So
yeah, I concur with that. The judges are analyzing. We'll get some words from Reese Marin. He is the judge review mouthpiece. You know, they all converse, but we're going to converse with Reese in regards to the outcome. They're still over here elaborating over our shoulder. But let's take a look. 1 and a 2, and Adam LZ. Oh, one more time. Here we go. Jonathan Castro, Ryan Literal. Always a good time. Here we go. Castro puts it in. Ryan Literal, you see him. Good proximity, really good proximity from that RB Army flag. The Sunoco, great looking car. 909 transition into that power alley. Castro does escape that second inside clip. Just a big correction there from Ryan Literal. Comes unwound. Castro keeps it in that second outside zone. So again, a little missing there by Castro in the lead, but that was a really big correction, unfortunately, by Ryan Literal in the chase. He had good proximity on that outside zone. Need to work it a little higher. Let's take a look at the truth serum, the overhead camera.
Yeah, everything looked fairly dialed there. Now Ryan Literal gets that proximity, pulls a little bit of angle, and then gets the line back. It's like, it looks really good through that second half of the first outside zone. Through this transition, everything looks pretty dialed. Goes a little bit wide from Castro, gets back on the throttle. Into the second outside zone, though, yeah, something happens with Literal where the car just maybe shuts down for a moment and then gets back on throttle. So with you know, the rule changes that we've seen over the last 2 years, that's not necessarily an incomplete at that point. It is kind of a reinitiation, but it's just a big deduction. It's not like that's completely washed out, so there's still a chance here.
Here we go, Ryan Literal out front. You can hear him firing off, firing in all cylinders. Into that, so this looks very similar to what we saw, but Literal dragging bumper, shedding a skin into that power alley, and this is where that smoke signal gets tough. Looks like Castro aggressive on the line on that second inside clip, big angle, almost like just shifting literally positions and kind of those flaws.
Gone.
But wow, Ryan Literal, he says, all right, you know, I got to rise. And he did. I mean, he lit that flame. Matt Field. So Matt Field took that hit on that back left side. Here's his team thrashing on it. He does get a 10-minute, you know, basically a timeout because he wasn't at fault, and he does have an additional 5 that he can call.
All right, so getting back into this battle, Ryan Literal, I mean, he is on one here. The amount of speed he's getting out of the car, even gets that rear bumper taken off for a bit of weight savings, and then flicks back through these clips. I mean, considering what Literal looked like in seating last night, this is a completely different driver, completely different car. Solid lead run, though. Jeez. Which, you know, just frustrating because he had whatever that issue was when he was in the chase. Yeah, I mean, you know, splitting hairs could have been slightly deeper through that first section, but then actually goes even deeper through the second part of that first outside zone, but the clips look good. Castro, yeah, I mean, just kind of along to watch this. Really far on the inside there. I wouldn't say have as much of a correction as we saw from Ryan Literal, but sounds like we're going to need a side-by-side on this to really get down to business and understand what all's going on, because that was a wild one.
Reese, your hair looks great. You're looking good. You're looking good.
I try. Thank you.
The Colombian cowboy over here. Appreciate it. Looking rock solid. And this is
a tough one.
It is a tough one. There were some great moments of driving on both Castro and Ryan Literal. I think the mistakes where they made, which one is of greater magnitude, and the accumulation, like you said, just going off of that previous battle of Adam LZ and Tommy La Mer, you know, there was very comparable.
There was a pretty solid mistake there from Ryan Literal, obviously in the chase, but does that supersede how phenomenal the lead run was? Mm-hmm. And that's where the judges really start to dive into this, and this is where the side-by-side comes into play, because Castro's chase wasn't nearly as good. It didn't have one big mistake, but it was lower. So both drivers in the chase pretty comparable, although Literal's got a bit more proximity. And then the lead run, I mean, we know what Literal's looks like. Castro's was solid, but goes pretty wide there on that inside clip. And then as we come through this zone, that's where we see Ryan Literal have the large mistake. But Castro not driving with a lot of angle, not driving with a lot of proximity, but has a decent line. So tough one, really, really tough one. And I can see it on the judges' faces, like this is not an easy thing to try and come to a conclusion on. So they're going to have to kind of sum everything up and understand cohesively how this all looks.
Yep, here we go, Castro or Literal, and there it is, Castro. So Jonathan Castro gets the victory. He bring up some deep cuts here. So, all right, here we go, Mr. Cool. Where can we get that big fan right now? Jonathan Hurst, Mr. Cool, in that Cadillac, and Ken Gushi, the OG, that ready Toyota GR86, high on the bank. And look at Jonathan Hurst, works his way up top, cash money on the tail edge, cash money in the hand. Past that inside clip, through that power alley. Good job by Gushi, good angle. Hurst does knock it over, loses some ground. I'll tell you what, Gushi is possessed. Look at that lock, dialed, minimal corrections, if any at all. The black wheels, but he does have, you can see that bright neon spoke there. That's a good indicator. And again, you saw that tire tread just pushing all the way through. Well done by the Goosh is loose.
Yeah, Gushi, I mean, really showing his veteran status and his expertise here. Looks really good and solid in his first outside zone. Not a lot of corrections. Could have been deeper, but he's not wavering the car around. Like, the transition, though, from Hurst was almost too good. He got in really close but didn't time it perfectly, and it had him fall back a little bit. But same thing, both drivers making some small mistakes but not overcorrecting, and I think that's the biggest thing. Hurst, the transition and the initiation, the timing wasn't spot on, and really here you have to be perfect through these transitions. I mean, there's one transition, you got one shot with this, so if you dive in a little bit too late or a little bit too early, you're going to be on the wrong side of the smoke line. Or in Hurst's case, he just was kind of too late to enter into that zone and then had to make up the ground. You called it. He was close, and on that transition, it forced him to be even further back because less momentum. Yeah. And that is exactly where the momentum zone is. We have branded it that as opposed to decel. So momentum where it shifts. It's not so much about decelling, because that kind of scares me when you think about stopping. So here we go. Jonathan Hurst initiates. He works his way up top. Gushi accommodates that and works his way up top alongside Jonathan Hurst. Now coming into that power alley, looks like Gushi gives him some line. So again, different approaches there. Where Hurst was close, Gushi gives him some line and then tries to attack. Doesn't end up paying off, but does keep it consistently through that line. Gushi takes that inside line as he crosses the finish line and didn't look like he was going to rotate or anything. I think he was keeping it safe, keeping it away, because that smoke is definitely accumulating there in that power alley. So two very different schools of thought in that power alley and on those inside clips between Gushi leading and Hurst leading. Yeah, I mean, Gushi just an OG veteran. I mean, over 140 events of FD under his belt. So he's seen so many different things, and he's on it. He's not being overly aggressive. He understands that there were some mistakes by Hurst. His spotter would have been in his ear. But Hurst, I mean, trying to fight through this, trying to put down a really, really solid run. You see a small bit of wavering, a couple of small corrections there from Hurst, but the biggest thing for him was that initiation, just not getting up to the wall in time. Both drivers kind of struggled with that, so it'll become a, once again, who's making more accumulative mistakes over the period of the run. But I like that Hurst is pushing hard, getting through those inside clips really tight, solid runs through those. For me, Hurst's lead only had the one mistake, which was not getting up to the wall soon enough, just taking a little bit of time to get there. So yeah, it'll be tough, but I'm sure. I mean, this is why the judges make the big bucks, man. They got to lead through this and make the great call. Some people say you tried so hard, but the end doesn't really matter. Yeah. Jonathan Castro there, Dominican's finest, still got a great attitude there. Castro does get that victory over Ryan Literal, and we're going to take a look at side-by-side. Ken Gushi throwing it up, so my eyes can see. West side. So let's see, I mean, when we're talking about it, so, I mean, yeah, Ken gets into the first outside zone a little bit sooner. The chases look pretty comparable through this section of the run. Now, in this part, in the chase, that's where Cash makes a bit of a mistake, and we don't see it really from Gushi. And then the leads to the second outside zone are pretty comparable, but Hurst ends up getting a bit more proximity, I would say, a better line and angle. So really, really tough call on this one. Once again, I got nothing. You got nothing? I got nothing. This is why I'm happy that I'm not a judge. Well, this is where we need to keep it vanilla. Yeah. Right? We're kind of factually observing, and that doesn't sway, obviously, the judges. And I have the needle going one way or the other. Okay. I do. Fair. I do, but I keep it to myself, and there it is. And that's oh, look at that. So 2-1. Yeah. And I thought it was going, but he does have the clean air. We saw some aggressive driving, and how well repaired is Matt Field's vehicle with that back left corner. As he said, Taco, use the 10 minutes. Is it enough? Here we go. Radan Briquette. He barely just taps that outside zone, that last indicator cone. Coming to that second inside clip through that power alley. Here goes Dan Briquette in that second outside zone. Dan Briquette comes into that second outside zone, brings it on through, and then
crosses that finish line. Well done by both drivers, but again, that incomplete by Dan Briquette. Is that enough? Bingo, bongo, boonga. There you go.
Yeah, really, for this run, that field just has to put together an active chase. Doesn't want to zero out, doesn't want to incomplete, whatever you want to call it. He just needs to get through the run. Whereas for Radan, he needs to put down such a solid lead that it creates a mistake in the chase. And unfortunately, that is not the way to do it. But Radan pushing really hard, wanting to, knowing he's got that, that weight on his shoulders, he's pushing hard. He's driving as quick as he can, trying to get through all the zones and shake Matt Field, but ultimately makes a bit more of a mistake in the second outside zone. I like how aggressive Radan is driving right now, though. It just, it sucks that it did create that mistake in the chase.
This is a testimonial to talking about pro should not be top 16. It needs to be 32,
right.
100%. I think that, Matt Field gets the win. Let's elaborate on that. So Here we go. Brandon Sorenson out front. Rudy Hansen in that S chassis chasing him down. Here goes Brandon Sorenson. And Brandon initiates. Rudy back there a bit. You can see him lurking his way up into the shadows in that first outside zone. Pretty textbook for both the drivers. You can see Rudy giving himself some room. Good transition. Was that too early? No, it's not. He worked that really, really well. Thought it was going to maybe be. Oh, and Brandon exceeds that. Not one, but it could potentially be 2 tires from Brandon Sorenson. So maybe too aggressive on that second outside zone. The car didn't grip up. Did have good control of it, but just exceeded just a touch, maybe even 2 tires off, which would not be an incomplete, but a deduction. Yeah,
Brandon Sorenson's got a lot of weight on his shoulders right now. He's 4th overall in the championship. He had one of the most epic battles we've ever seen here last year against oh my gosh, I completely gapped on that. But Brandon, making that mistake in the second outside zone, and it was a fairly big mistake. Shanahan, sorry. Brandon Sorenson and Connor Shanahan having one of the most epic battles we've ever seen here. In FD history, in my opinion, but it was right here in Orlando last year.
Yeah, Brandon is just he's keeping his hands, no idle hands. Like he's engineering parts. He's doing a lot of things. He's
got a lot on the go.
He's got a lot going on there at the Sorenson camp. Here we go, Rudy Hansen now. Got the clean air here, and we are getting through this top 32 pretty expeditiously as Rudy now with the clean air. Oh boy! Oh! We got wall. We got contact. And Rudy continues on. Definitely want to see how this pans out. We'll take a look overall, make sure Brandon is okay. Rudy continues on, but want to see what the judges think overall. It seemed like there was a tap, a little this, and it bears repeating and reiterating, setting precedents at round 1. That lead car, it's their responsibility to put the ideal run out. So Rudy initiates, boom. Walk us through it, Jake.
Yeah, Brandon was really aggressive on that. It's tough. Brandon was really aggressive on his initiation. He tucked in really tight, timed everything quite well, gets in there. Now, Rudy doesn't look too bad and then gets into the wall, then taps Brandon. Rudy hits the wall a couple of times, able to power out of it. It's very, you would think you want to kind of slow down and get out of the wall, but really adding power to try and shoot yourself off the wall is what you need to do. That's what Brandon wasn't able to do, but Rudy could. So there was contact there. It looked like Rudy was already into the wall, bounced back, hit Brandon. It's a weird scenario, though.
So what I would attribute this to is Rudy was being aggressive, got to the wall. Brandon, he put his car where it needed to be, but he can't go anywhere.
Right.
Because, look, Rudy straightens out. Look at the degree of angle.
Yeah,
okay, look, he hits. He bounces off the wall. He's straightening. Brandon is where he should be. Could have more angle, but I think he was in line with where Hansen was, right? So wherever that lead car goes, the chase car needs to follow. He can't. If he had more angle, Brandon, in that chase, he'd be back there quite a bit because Rudy's lack of angle going into that first outside zone.
Yeah, the job of the chase car is to mirror what's going on in front of you, and that's what we saw. And Rudy went into the wall independently before anything else, and really, if Brandon wasn't there for him to bounce off of, it would have been significantly worse.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's just over here in the judges. Do we have we assessed fault? Don't have to assess fault. It's just, it is what it is. Contact was made, but are we letting them work on their vehicles? Fault will determine the winner in the second run.
Second run on this. So, really I mean, Reese, you can walk us through this a little bit more if you'd like. And
sure, Reese, for the fans, and elaborate here, Reese, going to you again. But the fault will determine essentially the winner here. Oh. But yeah, please, Reese.
Yeah. Yeah, just while we're going through, we can see that Rudy Hansen gets in outside zone 1, and you can see that he makes contact with the ball. We can see here, we're going to see the initiation come in. Rudy gets on throttle. You can see he gets onto the wall. Then after getting the contact on the wall, you can see Rudy's car swings back, contact with Brandon Sorenson. Sorenson ends up going into the wall. So we're going to end up, you know,
you'll see the outcome.
But we'll see the outcome of it there.
But fault really determines the winner here, because Rudy, you know, if he's at fault, Brandon would get the win. If Brandon was at fault, he caused the accident, it would basically be Rudy's victory here. So overall, some great explanation there. Thank you, Reese, and I believe they've inputted their scores. So great elaboration there. Brandon up there on the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, both, whatever way this goes, both drivers have great teams. They'll be able to get these back together. They've got some time before top 16. So whatever way this ends up going, they'll be able to get these repaired and get back out. I mean, this is tough, but it's minor damage.
Yep, here we go. So slide them left once and twice and 3 times. Brandon Sorenson gets the victory, and that's kind of in very wet, probably the most volatile weather conditions we've ever seen here at O-Town. Remember, Sage and I looked at each other like, holy cow, this is gnarly, and that was a few years ago. But the Permatex GT Radial BMW, Dylan the Dozer Hughes going against Jack Shanahan from Ireland. Dylan Hughes sticks it to the wall. Well done and look at Shanahan. He's had a lot of turns on this track. The both BMW battle, the All-American Dylan Hughes going against Shanahan, comes into that smoke line. Again, that right-hand drive versus left-hand drive. Dylan Hughes, textbook lead run. Really well done by Dylan the Dozer Hughes. Wow, well done by, again, run it back. Shanahan had a great opportunity to chase down a near-perfect run. Look at that. Bang! Right on there. That rates at angle.
Oh, it's nuts. I mean, Dylan Hughes just snaps it right into the wall and holds it there. A couple of little left foot breaks, and then Jack Shanahan making that dive there, getting a bit of a touch on the door of Dylan Hughes, a little knock-knock hello. And as they come around into the second outside zone, you can see Dylan just locks the car in, and then Jack now has to kind of pick up the pace to get that car in there. Not what I was expecting out of Jack, but definitely what I was expecting out of Dylan.
Okay.
Dylan just nailed it, looked great in practice. Jack still trying to find the comfortability in that new build. New chassis for him, I mean, new engine package, all of it's just very new. So, got to get used to it. It's tough. It's really, really tough.
This track suits Dylan's driving style.
100%.
Just pin it flat out. I mean, he's riding dirt bikes. He's doing land speed. He's doing it all. I mean, it's just all in a fan boat. I saw, like hunting gators or something. Yeah. Like, I mean, dude, Dylan.
Florida's contagious, man. Florida is contagious.
That sounds so sus. but Dylan, I'm talking. He's worldly, man. He's 2 wheels, 4 wheels, fast wheels, slow wheels, sideways, slant ways. I mean, Willy Wonka, dude. Charlie Puckett. All right, well, Jack Shanahan, we'll see as he gets the cleaner. I'm expecting him to put down a heater of a run. He looked a bit frantic in that chase position. This is where the confidence grows for Shanahan, and there it is. Dylan Hughes. Did he expect that? Now coming down into that power alley, Dylan Hughes gives himself some room. Watch him lunge forward because he knows this track. You got to think this is Shanahan. They don't have a lot of banked courses in Ireland or in Drift Masters, and there he goes. Dylan Hughes into that second outside zone and dials it in between Dylan Hughes and Shanahan. That clean air confidence. He's had a lot of turns on it. Let's see.
Yeah, and Jack Shanahan's a driver that, with emotion, just really finds every little bit of energy he can and confidence. And the first half of that outside zone, not amazing from Jack, but the second looked phenomenal. And these inside clips and that transition, very smooth from Jack Shanahan. Dylan Hughes gets into the pocket at this point and just locks in. He's there. Look at the mirroring, and then just pulls in a little bit closer right at the end. Absolutely nuts from Dylan Hughes. I mean, so confident here. And Jack Shanahan, other than just getting into that zone a little bit late, looked really, really good out front. I mean, a lot of the drivers coming out of Europe, they favor tracks with a lot of transitions. They're really good at diving in, diving out through these different transitions. This is not a track with a lot of that. It's a lot more of like holding it into a zone for a long period of time. So a little bit tougher. We did talk about the right-hand drive being a big factor here as well, because through the first outside zone, you're on the outside. It can be tough to get into the wall and know where the back end of that car is, but through the rest of it, you know, you're on the leading edge at that point, so it becomes a bit easier to know where the zone is and know where the clips are.
Really good driving by both drivers. This is just one of those battles where it's unfortunate it's in 32 because two very talented drivers. Here we are, BC Racing go for gold. BC Racing official suspension of Formula Drift.
Yeah.
Side by side.
I mean, Jack's got more proximity through the first outside zone. Inside clips, looking pretty good in the lead on both of them. Jack got a little bit too deep in the chase. And then second outside zone, Dylan's got this nailed in the chase, although I would give a slight edge to Jack's lead in the second outside zone. Dylan went a little bit deeper, might have dropped the wheel out, but I think Jack kind of had it locked in. So same thing, very tough. Both drivers doing a great job. Just a couple of small notes here and there to make them perfect. And that's it. I mean, any of these critiques that we're putting in here, it's just a critique off of perfect. These are exceptional runs.
Well said. A critique off of perfect.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting when I talk to Reese as he speaks on the the perspective of the judges. He's like, well, these mistakes, and it's not saying they're not the other driver was perfect. It's just you start with 100 points, which we got rid of the number denominations, but basically because the seating brackets, and there it is. Dylan Hughes gets the win unanimously, and I agree with that. I think just collectively. As you say, shoot for perfect. Very aggressive because, like you said, you know what you get when you're going against a champion. Novak, he's going to try to literally Novak down. Here we go, Frederick Osbo, good angle from him, and that Rockstar Energy Toyota GR Supra coming down, massive angle from him. He talked about, again, those Kenda tires, and he was talking about the advantage. People talk about the rears, but he was talking about the fronts. Look at Novak. Yes, sir. Yeah, Nick Novak. Again, the platform is there, right? Osbo, good lead run, and just put it where it needs to be. That gave Novak the opportunity to either flourish or flounder, and in areas, he really did flourish.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Novak loves bank tracks, winning Irwindale 2023, and you can see why. And then Frederick Osbo out front, we talked about a 76% win rate. Just for some numbers, out of 396 battles, he's won 301 of them.
Yeah.
That is wild numbers. Look at this, though. Like, just, oh my gosh. That chase, though, that is textbook. That is, when you look at...
But award the lead run, too.
Right, agreed. You need to have a phenomenal lead to get a textbook chase. If you actually look in the rule book, the way that Nick Novak was laid out there, that is the diagram.
Yep. Yeah. That was absolutely textbook. Well done by Novak. So expect a good lead run from Nick Novak, Frederick Osbo, a robot when it comes to chasing. And like you said, there's all kind of tires battle. Here goes Novak initiating. Osbo has to come at him, and Novak taps that wall, disrupts the car, stays in it. So here goes Osbo now coming into that. Oh, we got a DB. That back left of Novak, he stays in it, he shoots off. And there goes Novak. We are dragging wheel, dragging GoPro, and dragging bumper. So Novak, he tapped that wall, he stayed in it, but I think that wall tap DB to the tire, tried to continue on, but doing it for Keith. Shout out to his boy, his best friend. But that was a hard act to follow for Freddie. You saw him initiate. He maybe a little timid, backed off, got back on it. Nick taps the wall, DB's the tire, and unfortunately with Nick, that's going to be all she wrote. Even after a great lead run,
Nick
takes himself out after being aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Judges reviewing no matter what, exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna take a look at it because I mean, there's also that potential that there was some sort of contact before. I don't think so, but hey, things can get missed. But yeah, Nick Novak a little bit late to get up to the wall, and then Frederick just has to try and cut in. Did not expect to see what Nick was going to do, and then in the transition here, I think that's when Nick lost the tire. It hit Freddie, and Freddie able to kind of drive through it, but at that point, Nick is well offline.
Yeah.
Pulls off the track, and I think we lost a drone in that battle as well. So a couple of different casualties, but listen, Nick Novak driving really hard in the lead after putting down just an absolutely incredible chase.
This is why Pro is 32.
Yeah, this is why Pro is 32. Man.
Also, another stat, Freddie has 77% winning percentage. Only higher than that is James Dean with 80%.
Yeah.
So this is why they're currently tied for the lead.
The amount of battles that Frederick Osbo has done in FD is far and away above James Dean. So. But
when James shows up, he either is in a developmental year or he wins a championship. Like, it's one or the other, right? It's like, like you said yesterday, it's like here comes James back, gets the call from Vaughn, getting the boss. He says, hey, I got a car. It's a Mustang. Come drive it. Struggle bus, and then boom, championship.
Well, that's no wonder why we have these two drivers battling it out for the championship right now, right? Talking about two of the greatest of all time. That's why they're battling for the top spot. But yeah, man, getting back to this, Nick Novak. Just sucks that this is the way that things kind of came about, because he had such a phenomenal chase.
Yep.
I think that's one that we'll still be talking about for a long time.
that was exciting. Put that in the highlight reel. Nick Novak, hold your head high, great attitude. So Frederick, Osbo, and again, going to Reese, talking about that. Have a tempered approach. He knows he's going against Jeff, who has a bit more aggressive style. Like when you back off a little bit, that's when you make mistakes, and I feel like Jeff needs to go 110%, and they're right to the wall. Good look at minimal corrections, if any at all, from those front wheels. Look at that line. No corrections. That was just right on the proper line. That shows the commitment from Jeff Jones out front. And you can see Daniel Stokie, so he does exceed just a touch, a couple treads, and now brings it back in that second outside zone. And Jeff looks like he rotates. Let's see, don't know if there was contact there or just kind of self-inflicted rotating there.
Yeah, judges, I mean, just taking a look immediately, like, you still need to get over the finish line and more or less care and control of the vehicle. So you do need to get past it and kind of be able to drive away. So interesting turn of events there right at the finish line. What seemed like just a solid run from Jeff Jones may get thrown away in literally the final few feet. So takes a minute there for Jeff to get up to the wall, but Stokie does a good job of kind of tucking into the pocket just a little bit late through that first outside zone. Inside clip one, looks great from Jeff. Transition, phenomenal from both drivers. And as we get into the second outside zone, as Jared said, very stable from Jeff Jones, riding that line. And it just looks like Jeff overcooked the tires and kind of spins going across the line. So no need to jump to too many conclusions as of yet, because it's going to come down to this next battle. But really interesting way that that battle ended up kind of wrapping out, because, yeah, just a tough one.
All right, so again, that rotation there from Jeff Jones. We'll see how the outcome is. And now Daniel Stokie initiates. Good angle from him. Jeff Jones tucks in. Daniel Stokie high. Jeff, you can see him slowly working his way. Then Stokie, he goes wide. Keeps it out there a little bit. We've seen that from a few drivers there. Jeff Jones takes out that inside clip. Daniel Stokie exceeds. So just, again, overshooting, undershooting, hanging it out a little too long. So just some things here and there on both sides, but with Jeff Jones, you saw him rotate there.
Yeah, getting your angle set early in these large outside zones is key, because if you're too shallow, you're going to push it. You're going to push the car out wide. If you're not shallow, if you're too much angle, that car's going to kind of shoot in. So you see there from Stokie right off the bat, not having that correct angle and making that mistake, and then as he comes into the second outside zone, a little bit shallow, and that starts to push him out wide. No major corrections there, and then Jeff Jones starting to fall back through the rest of that zone. So both drivers, I mean, on that second run, not confidence in the way that the car is handling. Neither one of them seems to like really have it set and locked in as we get our decision here.
Yeah, and even the little corrections that Daniel Stokie makes.
Got good notes, got a great spotter.
Hiro Monoa, the young buck, the youngest ever to Formula Drift podium. And Dmitri Brutzky, speaking of young buck, his son, his spotter in his head. Hiro Monoa dials it in. Ajuka Racing, Jerry Yang, GT Radio 86. Dmitri Brutzky, he does have good proximity. He needs to drop back just a little bit and show that control. Now it comes past that inside clip on the second in the power alley. Look at this. I mean, this is really good. Tempered approach, showing he has the car control. I would have liked, I think it would have just been more dominant if Brutzky just slid probably a quarter of a length of a car back a little bit, because I like that proximity. You said it well, proximity, mirroring the angle, and then the line.
Yeah, you need to decide how it's going to go. And I mean, what's really interesting is that Monoa and Brutzky actually have very similar driving styles, very similar driving techniques. So when I saw this battle come up, I was like, oh, this is going to be really cool. And you can almost see in this how they both drive the car. Look at Brutzky, so calculated to get the car in there, gets the nose in, adds in the rear. Like, that's really tough to do, and all of this in a car that is built for pro spec, not built for pro.
Great point.
So he's doing this with a couple hundred horsepower less than what most drivers are doing at this level. running a tire that's probably too big for what the car is set up for. Like, that's just everything against this guy, and he's still crushing it.
Never settles.
Never settle.
And you gotta, Hiro Monoa, we're just kind of glancing over, but this dude is on a tear just at 2 years. I mean, he is on a championship level tear, given all his, just his expedience of learning. FD Japan, here he is in FD in the States, and look at Brutzky out front. Like you said, just given all of the downfalls, and he rises. Here goes Hiro Monoa. Brutzky does exceed it just a little bit. He gets on in there. Hiro Monoa applies the pressure. Yes, sir. Well done. I mean, red, white, and drift all over, and smoky all over is Hiro Monoa and Dmitri Brutzky. Very equally matched. Good driving prowess overall. Great battle. No contact, no wall. That was good.
Yeah, just a solid battle. So Monoa kind of got a little shocked there at how fast Brutzky's going to be, and that's where, kind of the driving position worked out a little bit better for Monoa, where he wasn't bathed in the smoke. Now here, he can really hunt in. Now he's getting absolutely covered in smoke, having to drive by braille to get through, just touching the side of Brutzky, trying to figure out where he's at, and then pushing him through the rest of that run. So Brutzky, solid job in the lead. A couple of spots you can see he pulls just a hair bit of angle out to gain a bit more speed, shoot off that bank. Transition looks nice and smooth. And then right here, look at Monoa, bathing in smoke, pulls out of the smoke, exact same way that Brutzky did it earlier on. This is what I mean, stylistically, when you got two drivers that drive very similar, it makes for a battle like this, and it was so much fun.
Look at Hiro already. Is he doing homework? Because he's in 9th grade.
It could be.
I think he's talking to his teacher right now. And here we go. Slide him left for Hiro, right for Brutzky, and Hiro Monoa gets the win. But then you got Hiro, Brandon Sorenson, Amanda Sorenson, and Pro Spec. Love it. And again, I always say it's like skateboarding. You see different generations. Here we are, I think, on 3.0. Connor Shanahan, Daigo Saitto, new guard, old guard, regardless, one of them is moving on. Who is moving on to go against Hiro Monoa? Is it going to be another Jerry Yang vehicle? Daigo Saitto. Shanahan initiates in that Red Bull vehicle, GT Radio. Both these guys on GT Radio, a lot of GT Radio shrouded vehicles coming down into that first inside clip. Daigo Saitto does have a minimal correction there. Bathing in smoke into that last and second outside zone. Connor Shanahan and Daigo Saitto tucks in and brings it across the finish line. So smoke bathing ape with the camo livery, and there we are looking at Ryan Turk's cockpit. Ryan Turk looks like he'll be second to last battle.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the historical stuff before. If you didn't know, I mean, Daigo Saitto, former champion, but also has a 77% win rate, so up there with the best of the best. Daigo Saitto coming back now into FD after being gone for a few years and just really pushing things. And Connor Shanahan looking solid out there. I know there was some conversation about him having a few mechanical issues earlier on, but I'm not seeing it. And Daigo Saitto, just other than the transition to that midsection, looking really good, really pushing the pace on Connor Shanahan. Connor's not one that you really end up pushing around, although he is taking some sweet time getting back to the line.
Yeah, you wonder if the car is not 100% or if maybe the temps are high.
It could be the temps are high.
Buying a little bit of time, dragging his feet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just making sure the car is as cooled down as possible. Seen it a few times from Connor, and I think that might be the case here.
Talking some of the numbers here, Daigo Saitto on the line, his winning percentage coming back, 20%, but historically is insane. Take 25 out, really high. Daigo's the other legend that's trying to get out of seeding. So again, FD Japan, FD Asia. I mean, Daigo is one of the best in the biz. Just needs to find that sweet spot. Again, that formula, not formula drift, or is it? Here we go into that first inside clip, the power alley. Here goes Daigo Saitto. Again, it took a hard hit. Him and his team said the car is back up and running, should be dialed. And yeah, if there were any issues, definitely not apparent here. And Shanahan banging doors with the ledge. That is Daigo Saitto. So Shanahan in that chase position. Let's take a look at it again.
Daigo Saitto on power really early, using all throttle at initiation, which means he can just get right on it. He's on the throttle as soon as he leaves. That way, he's got all the momentum he needs. There's no e-brake there. Just keeping that momentum all the way through, does a really good job. And we see a bit of a mistake there from Connor Shanahan through that power alley outside of the inside clip 2. And then right at the end, Connor, just that little exclamation mark, that little, make sure the jugglers know what's up, finish strong with Connor just tapping the door, Daigo Saitto just a little bit. The added angle there from Saitto. Inside clip looks good. Transit, man, Connor's transitions, some of the best in the world. Just his ability to time it out, gain that proximity, and actually pick up speed before the transition. So as they come across, he's already on the side of the door. We saw him do this in Orlando last year, and he's doing it again now.
What's the Shannon plan for Shanahan? Is he going to go Shanahan? We will see. And considering, as you say, you always talk about the Shanahans and their European style, and I would say he's very predictive on timing that. Also take into consideration the first year, freshman season for that vehicle and Shanahan working together.
Yeah, just, you know, this is the same chassis setup that he's got over in Europe. It's the one he's the most comfortable in, and you can really see it here, how confident he drives. So, man, there's a couple of mistakes that I'm seeing. Most of it's through that midsection of the run, through the inside clips. But outside of that, both drivers in the chase, phenomenal. Just dooring the other driver. But yeah, really, it kind of comes down to Daigo having a bit of a straight in between 1 and 2, and Connor kind of coming off the bank, a few corrections there. So I have a feeling I know which way I'm going to be leaning on this one, but I'm not always right on where the judges are.
They see things to a degree that, you know, not the average consumer or fan would even see, and taking all the factors in. You have to remove the emotion out of it, and there's degrees of relationship that, you know, that's what I love about it, is you can have two identical cars set up, but obviously you have your parameters, and they will drive them completely different. So you take all those emotions, high fives, things. I mean, there's disdain, there's glory, there's all that, but Shanahan gets the win. Oh, look at that again. So once again, here is Reese. You know, he's got the COL, hence for the Colombian. He lives in Philly, but he's Colombian descent, and he goes one more time. But Shanahan gets the win. Was that the way you were leaning in? But Andy Haley would love to prove him wrong. Here we go. Odi Bakshi, field suspension, GT Riddle S chassis. Andy Haley lacking the angle. You can see him trying to get closer here. Odi, boom, right on it. And now comes down into that power alley. Andy Haley, the wrong side of where he needs to be. The Drift Wizard, Evo AutoWorks BMW shuts it down. Odi Bakshi continues on through the entirety of the course. I mean, textbook. That is a hard act to follow. Odi Bakshi. What went wrong for Andy Haley? What do you think, Jacob?
There was one moment, it was very, very quick, where I saw Odi grab the handbrake just before leaving the first outside zone, and I'm sure we'll see it here. I don't think it would have affected Andy, but it was like the only kind of big correction that I saw there from Odi Bakshi. But Andy just didn't look like he was in the chase in the beginning, to be perfectly honest. Especially with that overhead view, you can really see that Andy was just struggling to get that car going. And it looks like he's going to be heading off track to take a 5-minute regardless, because, yeah, just something wasn't right on that car right from the get-go. And Andy having to go put hands on the car, put eyes on the car, and see what's going on.
All right, so like you said, I barely saw that handbrake pull, so good eyes there. But as you said, Robbie said, competition timeout being called in the Andy Haley camp. Evo AutoWorks, BMW. See the Drift Wizard there on the roof. We've got some great merch that Kona. A lot of these drivers do. You know, wear the uniform. Wear your favorite driver. Buy the gear. Support the sport. Support the driver. Support the sponsors. Thank you so much for coming out here. You know, Orlando Speed World, it's raw. It's some great fans here. There's a great scene here in Orlando. So thank you to all the fans coming out here. Orlando, make some noise for all the fans across the globe tuning in. Come on now. I said Orlando. Are you some of the best drift fans in the world? Make some noise. All right, stomp your feet if you could. Stomp your feet. See if they can hear you echo. Yeah, there's the Thunderdome. Welcome. I am Master. He is Blaster. And there they are, James Dean and Frederick Osbo, the Driver Championship. And that is current standings because they won their battle. They came in with 90. Each win, 10 points. 90 plus 10 equals 100. I can do that math. So very cool. Look at that. Odi. Currently, again, 50 points. He can move up to 60. Hiro jumps up to 40. Matt Field, Bing, you could see it all. Moving, shucking, jiving. Yet to see Chris Forsberg. He's about to do battle here. He is the last battle against Federico Sharifo, RCP. We saw him. What are you looking at?
Daniel Stokie, because of the seeding brackets, getting those extra points, that's putting him ahead of Dylan Hughes. This is where the 3 points you get for a win in seeding can start to really play a factor in the total ranking. So Ben Hobson's 19. So it's just those extra couple of points in seeding sucks to be down there, but the upside is those extra points you get from that might be the difference. So taking a look again at our airforce.com replay, Odie looks pretty good on that first outside zone, but Andy just shallow angle, maybe low on power, and then just kind of shoots in, and that's it.
There was an incomplete, so contact with an incomplete, the fault does need to be given in order to get hands on the car. So comp timeout.
Yeah. Did?
Boom.
Oh,
yeah.
He did make,
that
did
front
make contact.
left.
All right.
Yeah, definitely hit the back right of Odie.
Yeah, so I think that's, I don't think, to me, I don't think Odie's at fault for any of this. He's on the line. He's doing what he needs to do. You can see Andy just not where he needs to be, and then finally gets the car to angle, but on that tighter line, kind of cuts across. And what I really like, though, is that Odie just stays in it. Just keeps going, keeps driving. Like, okay, a bit of a contact, but let's play this out and see how everything goes. So, yeah, I mean, oh, man. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Andy. We did see that last night he had a few issues. Car just not performing the way that he wanted to, so it's good to see that he got back out here, but I don't think all those issues are resolved at this time. And now Odie, they're going to get some toe plates on that and take a look, and yeah.
All right, well, Lorette, down to you. You got Odie. I don't know if he wants to talk or not. Lorette.
Well, I just tapped Odie, and I think he's starting up the car, so that is a no. He was given a 10-minute. The clock is still running. So honestly, he only used about a minute of his competition timeout. Kevin, he was given the 10. He did call the 5. What does that actually mean? Did he use his comp timeout?
No, he did not.
Okay.
So basically, I just started the 5 so we can get the ball rolling on everything, because either I'd bill you for the 5 or if it's free 5s. Either way, we got to run a 5. And then they gave him a 10 because it wasn't his fault. So either way, he burned a minute and a half, and he's out anyhow. So we're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Lorette. And Lorette, for your information, it was, and for all the fans, Haley was at fault. So to Kevin, who is competition director, Haley was at fault, so he receives an incomplete, and Odie with the contact went into the pit. So going through the formalities, he didn't even need to use a competition timeout. He could just get hands on the car because of Haley forcing that contact and the incomplete at fault. So again, with Odie going to the pit, he could have touched the car with no repercussions.
I think it's just one of those, as soon as you put hands on the car, you start a 5. If he's found that he's not at fault, then they just give an extra 5 on top of that. So, but yeah, Kevin doing the right thing there as we move on to our next set of battles.
Simon Olsen and Ben Hobson. As Olsen and Hobson, yeah, look at this. I mean, Simon Olsen, you know, speaking of Odie, coming off that battle, was with Odie for a couple years, and now back behind the wheel of his Mark V Toyota Supra. Ben Hobson, a Pro Spec champion, so dominant.
Yeah.
Had, again, the Mustang. It is she a bad girl, man. You got to harness that Mustang, and we saw that even with the likes of James Dean. So Hobson on his freshman year behind the wheel of the Mustang, trying to work it out. Seems like it came together. Has had a lot of seat time in between October and April, the silly season of Formula Drift. Hobson really committing himself to the Mustang, to RTR. Pennzoil, great attitude, good formula, just recently engaged. Just a lot of things on the up and up for Ben Hobson. On, off track, Simon Olsen running his own campaign, running his own vehicle, and seems to be working out. Learned a lot.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Learned a lot from Odie. I mean, suspension matters. You're going to pick things up through osmosis.
Simon Olsen leading in that Mark V Toyota Supra, initiates Ben Hobson back there quite a bit. Maybe give himself too much. Look at that left foot brake there from Simon Olsen. That front right coming to a halt. Now coming back into that power alley, transitioning through that second. See a quick little junt into that second outside zone from Simon. And it looks like Ben is just progressively gaining that ground in that chase position. But Simon, want to analyze this. Again, Ben on initiation was back there quite a bit, but you saw him by the end of the run, he was right there on his door.
Yeah, Simon's run was really fast, like really, really quick. Now, he doesn't get into the first outside zone until about halfway through. And as Jared alluded to, just a lot of right foot brake to hold that car back, just really quick. Inside clips look good. Ben able to hang tight there through those transitions and then starts to reel things in. Simon then gets back on the power, but Ben is right there through the whole thing. Great mirroring from Ben Hobson as they come across the line, but Simon through the blocks just really, really fast. And I think trying to be that aggressive, trying to outrun a Mustang is not easy, but he did a pretty good job. The only downside was he wasn't fulfilling that first outside zone completely. So solid run there from Simon Olsen. He's got the pace in the car. He's got the setup in the car. This is the most confident we've seen him driving this car in a very long time.
Yeah, I think it's great to see Simon take all that knowledge, like you said, by osmosis. Great word there. Ben Hobson initiates Pennzoil Mustang RTR Spec 5. Whoa, man! Snaps into it, did not pay off. Now, he did salvage that. That could have easily gone south, literally down the course, but it does grip up. He works it back up. Tried to go for the gangster initiation, and now Ben Hobson, and he goes and overshoots it. Going to that second outside zone, Simon Olsen. He's front row in quite a fireworks show.
Yeah.
So I want to run that back because just out of the gate, Hobson goes for it. Simon gave himself some room there, but what do you guys say, Orlando? Make some noise for him.
Yeah, so Ben Hobson out of the gate using as much of that track as he can, and then just over angles the car, and I mean, doesn't get to that outside zone until at least halfway through, but really far off. Simon just trying to figure out the best way to chase it. Tons of angle through the first inside clip from Ben. Second inside clip looks pretty good, but then goes off track there. So I don't know if this becomes a situation where the run is unchaseable. That might be a little bit tough on him for it, but was not a solid lead run from Ben Hobson. And Simon just trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out where to place the car, because Ben's got a ton of angle, pulls out of that angle to drive straight. Simon just has to figure out how do you get in and chase this run. And then Simon does a good job punching through the smoke here, but then Ben's on such a wonky line, he ends up going at least 2 wheels off, maybe even 3 at that point, and Simon has to kind of cut back in. So, you know, the good lead, good chase thing, this is also the opposite. Not good lead, not good chase.
And we haven't seen that initiation from Ben even in practice, so that was just very foreign to even the judges as well.
Yeah.
So BMW, great attitude, but once he put down some great angle in front of Odie Bakshi's, Andy Haley initiates into the bank. You can see him riding just on the outside and then throws it into that outside zone box. Now dragging bumper into the power alley, drops it down, and there's that back bumper that we were talking about. Looked like that was what he was zip tying there at the start. Matt Sopa now into that second outside zone. I think Andy did a decent job. I think that was a 80% of a 100-point run, but Odie Bakshi's I think did just enough, not too much, and did just enough in order to get this victory after unfortunate contact on that first portion of that battle with Odie leading and Andy chasing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Andy had some redemption there with that lead run, comes back out, puts the car through all the zones correctly, and then Odie just has to make sure that there is an active chase with that incomplete for Andy from the first run.
Yeah, pretty cut and dry, and looks like Andy Haley, unfortunately, will be parking the car for the weekend, but go visit him in the paddock area at this round and future rounds. Again, 5 remaining rounds of our Formula Drift Championship here in 2024. Second to last battle here in a Rockstar Energy Drink Top 32. Turk wants to make it rain. Here we go into that first outside zone. Ryan Turk puts it in, very settled, very calm. Derek Madison tucks in about a car length behind into that first inside clip. Turk, great angle. Derek Madison drops back. Looks like Turk went out a little bit, brought it back in, reeled it in, and you can see him, again, just dancing on that razor's edge. Does exceed a little bit, but not too much. Just dipping a tread of those Kenda tires, and those Kenda, both him and Osbo going with Kenda this season.
Yeah, making that big switch, but they're adapting to it quite well. So Ryan Turk, not the most exciting, crazy, dynamic run, but that's not really what you want to be going for right now. You want it to be, predictable. You want it to be stable, and that's what Ryan Turk put out in that lead there. Does exceed a little bit on the line there. Derek Madison gets caught up a little bit through the inside zones, but does a great job of getting back into the battle once they've cleared that smoke. And Derek is really growing as a driver, did not overreact. And I mean, even a Derek of last year might have freaked out in this situation, but he didn't. He stayed on the line and then just gets the car and starts to push into the pocket a little bit more, doesn't overreact, doesn't straighten the car, and once he gets that proximity, just slides the back end in, makes it look really, really good. I'm stoked to see both of them driving in a very smart way. And that's what you need to do to get through top 32.
It's very comparable to, like we said, with Ben Hobson. Didn't see that initiation, but I don't know if that was the time and the place to do it. So here we go. What's going on here? So Derek Madison, Ryan Turk off the start, and was that so taking a look at this, Derek Madison continues on through the course. Was that a restart, or did Ryan Turk have a glitch and he's not 100? You're going to have to run that back and just confirm. Is that good to go? And Ryan Turk crawling his way through, and Derek Madison could get the victory here. Not seeing any sign of a restart here. Ryan Turk left the line in the chase position and just stranded out there. Pounding the steering wheel, frustration sets in. Oh, man. Derek Madison, one step closer to taking this victory.
Yeah.
Starter saying, what happened?
I would love to know what that conversation is like right now.
Oh, dude, frustration.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me.
It happens. So Derek Madison out of the gates looks really good. Good speed, getting the car, and Turk never gets it going. Was it a misshift? That's what I'm thinking, misshift. Popped out of gear. Oh, no. So frustrating. And listen, at this track, if that happens, there is no coming back from it. If you do not have that perfect start, there's nothing you can do. Ryan Turk, no point at that point to try and get back into the battle. Just try and collect your thoughts and calm down a little bit, because Turk was on it, but Derek Madison getting a little bit of luck, and we know that here.
Yeah, that is just such an unfortunate turn of events. You saw the frustration, pounding the steer wheel, and Derek Madison gets the win. Not the way you want to get it, but Mads will take it. Our final battle of our Rockstar Energy Drink Top 32. The NOS Energy Drink Nismo All New Z initiates into the bank. Here comes Federico Sharifo, Forsberg, slingshots out into that first outside zone. Federico lower on the bank. Chris dials it in on that power alley inside clip 1 and 2, ticking the boxes literally with those front tires. Now coming to that second outside zone, Forsberg rides the line and brings it on home. Here's your chicken, that Kumo tires on there. There we are in the pit, and just leave him alone.
Yeah, that's a frustrated driver for sure, and totally understandable, because he was definitely on it, and just popping out of gear. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's so unfortunate. You gotta feel for him.
Yeah, taking a look back here, Federico Sharifo lighting the tires up early, and just not able to time things correctly in that first outside zone. Chris Forsberg does a great job through the first section and right through these inside clips. Now Federico Sharifo got to make up that ground, but just overshoots that little bit, not able to really get back into the pocket at any point in time after that big mistake in the beginning to try and take on, a multi-time champion that is Chris Forsberg. Taking him down is not going to be easy. You're talking about a driver with a 31% podium rate. Almost 1/3 of all the events he goes into, he podiums. That's wild.
That is a staggering stat, and given the sheer 21+ years of competing. So here we go. Federico Sharifo will lead Chris Forsberg giving chase. Now here comes Federico in that Pentel Ferrari. He initiates into that outside zone, chasing him down. Again, you got to think with Fetty kind of low on that bank. Chris Forsberg, again, is he celebrating just yet with some Nets vodka and NOS energy drink? And there he goes, drops into formation, into that second outside zone, and Fetty crawls his way through that second outside zone. Forsberg dials it in, and it looks like he was just giving himself enough room, and kind of needle going the way of Forsberg, just giving that first glance, again, where the cars were, just going off of that first outside zone even initially.
Yeah, Fetty, solid run out front. Fetty's driving is just getting better and better. We saw a couple of really good runs there last night. This wasn't too bad from Fetty. The inside clips look great as he transitions through, and Forsberg just playing back a little bit. Fetty's car not quite as fast as what Chris has got lined up with the new Z, and just right here you can see it where Fetty comes off throttle, still floating it out, and Chris has to back off just a bit so we can get into the side of that Ferrari. We saw with an Instagram video yesterday just how expensive that Ferrari is with all those parts.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Chris keeping that in mind when they came to the last part of that
You
zone.
break, you buy.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Chris Forsberg, Federico Sharifo, slide him left unanimously. Chris Forsberg gets the win for our final battle of the 32. So congratulations, and our top 16 has been forged. And just like that, our Rockstar Energy Drink Top 32 is been established. The foundation is here. Some upsets, some great driving, pretty clean cut, and the judges were not all in unison. It was, again, majority rules, and they had some split decisions, but overall we did get a winner. Only, what was that, one more time? A couple contacts there, but there it is, O'Reilly Auto Parts Top 16, James Dean versus RCP. Field versus LZ, that'll be fun. Castro and Gucci, all Toyota battle.
Yep.
Brandon Sorenson and Dylan Hughes, both BMWs, two different driving styles. Frederick, Osbo You know what he's capable of. Currently, again, tied for the championship versus Daniel Stokie. Hiro Monoa and Connor Shanahan. Young driver versus a veteran, Odie Bakshis versus Simon Olsen. Once teammates, and then finally Derek Madison, who let's just call it what it is, upset.
Yeah.
Ryan Turk, you know, again, historically, percentage-wise, statistically, is going against Chris the Force Forsberg.
It's going to be a great top 16. Great battles. I mean, amazing tandems that we're going to see here. Both these, I mean, basically all the battles are going to be epic. And, yeah, I want the break to be over so we can come back and see them.
Absolutely. So we'll grab a Rockstar energy drink, grab some food, grab a good time. Thank you so much, Jacob. Appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you to Lorette Nichols. Some great insight, getting perspective. It's sweaty, but we are ready. And this is round 3 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. We'll be back here in just about a couple hours and a half, 7:30. So 2.5 hours local time, 5:02 on the dot. So rejoin us for the continuation and the top 16 here at round 3 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. I'm Jared Deanda, Jacob Gettins, Lorette Nickel. We're your tour guides, but the action is out on the track. Come back and be ready to eat because it is scorched, literally and figuratively, here at Orlando Speed World. Round 3 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship, 2.5 hours, top 16. Thanks for joining us.